Welcome to the first World History 2 video of the going through the notes packet together. Okay, if you are watching this at home, feel free to stop it at any point and rewind or go back. It's your choice how you view it. All right, so when we're talking about the world at 1500, we're talking about 8 years after Columbus sailed the ocean blue, and we're talking about the time period after we went through the Dark Ages and then the Middle Ages and all the knights and castles and that time period. So we're going to see us emerging into the global age. We're going to see Europe's population and economy grow. They're going to have to increase textile production, specifically wool and linen, because if you have more people, you need to clothe them. They're not walking around naked. We're going to see a lot more goods sold in the Italian states, especially textile and around the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean is still going to be our center of trade. We're also going to see cotton, spices, luxury fabrics, and gold arrive in Europe from Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Now, if you remember, not only are goods moving along these trade routes, but so is culture. So we're going to see languages spread, we're going to see religion spread, traditions, things like that are arriving as well. Before we talk about the actual empires, we need to figure out what is an empire. An empire is a supreme power in governing. Okay, so a supreme power, it is the number one at the top of the totem pole in power. It can also be a group of nations or peoples ruled over by a powerful sovereign or government. Okay, a nation is going to be a large group of people that have a common history, a common culture, a common language, a common religion that live in one area together. So for example, Japan is a nation. Okay, everybody speaks Japanese, everybody is descended from Japanese people. They have a Japanese culture, they have the same religion. That means they're a nation. When you look at the United States has many different nations within it because you're going to find New England very different from, say, the South. Okay, so those are two different nations. If you have one nation and they have one government, then we call that a nation state. Okay, so there's a difference. You got to remember that. Now, let's look at Europe quickly. We have 5 European powers that we're going to look at: England, France, Spain, Russia, and the Holy Roman Empire, which I abbreviate as the HRE just to make things a little bit easier. All right, I asked in your notes for you to look at this map and see what you think. Make sure you know where you are. Okay, find the boot of Italy, figure out what's water and what is land, figure out what are cities, okay, look at the key. And I want you specifically to figure out what you notice about the yellow lines, okay? Why are the yellow lines going around the land and not through it? Couple reasons. One, boats are bigger. Okay, so you can carry more goods. The yellow lines are commercial routes, and by carrying more goods, they can make more money. That's a good thing. Okay, they're also going to go on water because it is safer. Okay, they can follow the coastline. Roads at this time period are not good. Okay, we don't have a lot of roads going between Paris and France and, let's say, Barcelona in Spain. All right, so we're going to be seeing a lot more boats. Eventually, we'll get into roads and railroads, but we're not there yet. Now, our first European power is going to be England. They are ruled by the Tudor dynasty. Tudor is the last name. Henry VII, Henry VIII, Edward VII, Edward VI, Mary I, and Elizabeth I. Okay, the two important ones are going to be Henry VIII and Elizabeth I. They will be very important during our Protestant Reformation unit. England is going to control Wales and part of Ireland. Wales is to the left of the little number 3. They control the part of Ireland that is circled. They also control ancestral lands in France that was brought in by a marriage, but they lose them later on. They're having battles to control Scotland. Think of the movie Braveheart, if you've never seen that. They're also famous for having great warriors. They invent the longbow. And that's going to be very significant because it means that they have advanced technology compared to everybody else. At this point in 1500, England is also a Catholic country. Okay, at this point, you can either be Catholic or Orthodox if you are a Christian. Okay, we have other religions as well, but England is going to be Catholic. That's England at this point. In France, we're going to see the 100 Years' War fought with England, and that's going to end in 1453. Okay, from the 100 Years' War, the English are going to be expelled or kicked out from France, except for the port of Calais, which is a tiny little port town on the north of the coast. This means that France establishes themselves as a nation state and sets up their ability to expand and trade later on. They are also a Catholic country, and they are ruled by what we call the House of Bourbon, or the Bourbon family. That's why we have a Bourbon Street in New Orleans, named after that family. Spain is going to be formed from the marriage of Isabella of Castile and Ferdinand of Aragon. When they get married, they have two separate countries, and they join them together to form Spain as we know it today. They're both Catholic, they want to make Spain into a Catholic country, fully Catholic, 100% Catholic, and so they're going to start what's called the Reconquista and drive out the Moors, or the Muslims, from Spain. They're also going to later on expel the Jews, creating one nation state. Now, if you remember, the Moors, the Muslims, came through from the Middle East, through North Africa, and up into Spain, and were living there. And a lot of the Moors were merchants and the intellectuals, the teachers, the professors of Spain, as was the Jewish population. So when they kick them out, we're going to see some issues with Spain not having as many merchants and kind of having some issues with that. However, Isabella and Ferdinand are going to strengthen Catholicism. They are going to then get the blessing of the Pope and seek new lands and sources of wealth. Remember, they lost their merchants from the Reconquista and the Inquisition, so they need some more wealth. That leads us directly into Christopher Columbus, who we're going to talk about later. Our next empire is going to be Russia. Russia is brought together by Ivan the Great. He takes what we call Muscovy and unites all of the surrounding little areas into Russia. Russia at 1500 is a much smaller Russia than what we know today. It's mainly in the European part of Russia. And so he unites the country under one ruler rather than having lots of little princes who are arguing all the time. However, because the Mongols are no longer occupying China, they were kicked out of China, Russia is going to be attacked by the Mongols frequently, and so they're going to be kind of isolated and kept backwards and kept busy by the Mongols. Russia is also the only European Orthodox country. Remember from last year we had the Great Schism where the Catholic Church divided in two, and so into the Catholic Church that we know today, the Roman Catholic Church, and the Orthodox Church. So Russia is Orthodox. And that's our picture of Ivan the Great. Nice guy, right? Our next empire is going to be the Holy Roman Empire. If you notice on the map, look at how between France and Spain, the borders are the little gray lines, and then notice how the borders of the Holy Roman Empire are the dark red lines. But within the dark red lines, there are some small gray lines as well. That's because the Holy Roman Empire, located in Central Europe, is made up of a confederation of states, which means each of those little areas that is surrounded by gray within the red has its own government and laws. Okay, the rulers of these little states, the dukes and the princes, are going to join together and elect an emperor to kind of be a power above them. In the beginning, in 936, when they form this, they're trying to recreate the original Roman Empire. They're doing it so that way they can have power against any military foe. If we go back to the map, we notice that some of these tiny little gray borders are small countries, and against larger France, they're not going to have any advantages in battle. So by joining together and forming the Holy Roman Empire, they're going to be much stronger. However, after a while, they don't really have to worry about France so much, so the emperor becomes a title without power. The emperor doesn't really have as much power anymore. It's also going to be ruled by the Austrian Habsburg family. So instead of being elected, it kind of turns into a hereditary dynasty where the emperor title passes from father to son. The Holy Roman Empire is also a Catholic country or a Catholic confederation. It is supported by the Pope. So, just a recap, our 5 European powers are England, France, Spain, Russia, also called Muscovy on this map, and the Holy Roman Empire. Check back for the Africa, Americas, and Asian empires on the next video. Thanks for watching. Have a great evening.